Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our show, A Mexican Crossing Lines on KPPP 88.1 Fargo Moorhead, adding local color to your airwaves.
That's right, folks. This is part two of my response to the show podcast series American Psyop.
You mean poocast, right?
The poocast, yes, not podcast. It's a poocast, and I called the first installment of my response Psyop BS. You know what the BS stands for, don't you?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So this is part two of that rebuttal. It just gets better and better, and it's going to be juicy today because I've got a lot of information and you need to know about it.
That's right, and share this out. We're streaming on YouTube at Duke1517. We're also streaming on Facebook at 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. If you want to give us a call and leave a message on our message line, you can call 701-566-0917. You can also email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com.
We're going to be covering a lot of topics today. We're going to be covering appropriation, and we're going to be covering the different people that are participating along with Wes Clark Jr. and this American Psyop BS, because they all need to be held accountable. I don't know what their reason for participating, producing, publishing defamatory information, stealing copyrighted material from our shows to slanderous. I don't know what the motivation behind all of that was, but I really don't care. I'm going to respond to it because I think it's really important for you all to know what's going on. So last show, I started a response series. I'm going to be doing a series of shows in response to a poocast that was produced by the Bunker Crew and by the Midas Touch. And the people that produced this show, including journalist Emily Bix and editors Jack Bryan, producers Stacy Scher and Jack Bryan and Marley Clements, and executive producer Grant DeSimone and Brent Meiselas, you all did a shoddy job at verifying the information that you were putting out as true crime. I'm using air quotes for those of you who are listening to me over the radio. They produced a 10-part series podcast, which I'm calling a poocast or a caca-cast for those that are bilingual, in which they tell a very strange story. I can't call it true crime because I don't know how much of what Wesley Clark Jr. told these people can ever be verified as true. Wes Clark Jr. is the son of retired General Wesley Clark, who fought the war over in Kosovo, that was the head of NATO, and that ran for president in 2003. And Wesley Clark and I were involved because when the before the caravans, when Standing Rock happened in 2016, we did a lot of coverage on that for several years. And during that period of time, we were covering what was going on at the protest camp. We were met with the story of Kathleen Bennett and her mom, two indigenous Lakota women who needed help that were being falsely accused of crimes they didn't commit by a bunch of people who called themselves water protectors at camp that involved the crew of people surrounding the veterans and Wes Clark Jr. So I dug and I dug and I dug and I dug, and I found out that all these people that were working together were working under Wes Clark, and that were working under the Veterans Stand groups. And that those people were the ones involved in putting Mary Trujillo in an early grave and sending her daughter needlessly to jail for 6 months until we were able to get her a lawyer and get her exonerated. I guess they haven't had enough, Duke. I guess they're here for more. So
yeah, they're bringing it back. You know, that was 2016, 17, and here we are, 2023.
Narcissists can't keep their mouths shut, I guess. I don't know what's going on. But for whatever reason that they brought this to the forefront, I'm willing to rehash the past and the present because there's a reason why they're trying to center themselves in the conversation right now. And I don't think that we should let them get away with it. We're going to push back for the people that are local, that are listening on this radio station. Those of you who know what happened at Standing Rock, you probably still have a knot in your throat, a pain in your stomach when you remember what occurred, how the people, the indigenous people that were protesting out there were treated, the police response, the veterans that came out, and how they were left stranded. Thousands of veterans were left stranded and penniless by Wes Clark Jr. and Michael A. Wood Jr. So we don't have good memories of what Wes Clark Jr. and Michael A. Wood Jr. Funded and supported by the Young Turks came and did here in North Dakota, where we live. Okay? We don't appreciate it. And we definitely do not appreciate what they are doing now. So here we go. We're starting the show on a Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You okay, Duke?
Oh, yeah. Good.
We've been working on this show quite a long time, so Duke might be a little bit tired.
Yep.
I don't know.
A little slow on the switch there.
Something?
No, I'm good. Ready to go.
Okay, so away we go, folks. Share this and put it on your platforms and tag the people that are involved, because have I got a show for you. Let's start off by talking about who else is promoting this BS poocast. Well, one of the people that has been working in tandem apparently for a while now, promoting the idea that Wes and other people that went to Standing Rock were all absorbed in a cult, is none other than Dr. Stephen Hassan, PhD. Here's a post of his that he posted. You want to read what he said about the Midas Touch, posting the American Psyop program?
Yes. It's a Stephen Hassan, PhD, cultural expert, and Wes Clark Jr.
He's a cult
expert, yes,
honey.
Yes.
Cult expert, because, see, Dr. Stephen Hassan was in a cult himself, and he's written many books about cults.
He was in the Moonies.
Including his latest book, which is The Trump Cult.
Oh, I see. Wes Clark Jr. recruited and mind-controlled. I'm really into American Psycho. Psyop, American Psyop. Yeah, it is American Psycho. Do you know what a Psyop is and how it works?
Okay, excuse me. Did you say, was this a question mark at the end?
Yep.
Okay, and he said, was Wes Clark recruited and mind controlled? Is he asking the question? Is he making an assertion?
Yes, it's just like a promo. Was Wes Clark recruited and mind controlled? Do you know what a Psyop is and how it works? Well, tune in.
It looks like to me that the first thing that you're reading there is a sentence without a question mark.
Yep.
And he's not making a question there. He's making an assertion.
Yep.
It doesn't start with the question like, was Wes Clark recruited and mind controlled?
That's right.
It says, Wes Clark Jr. recruited and mind controlled.
Yep.
As in,
Past
he's asserting
tense,
this as a fact.
Yep, and it's past tense.
Right. Already happened, past tense. And he's an expert at cults, so I guess he would know. And he's telling us we should take his word for it. This is true. The story is true. And what he's saying about being mind controlled and being in a cult, that's also true. We saw in the last show that the people that produced this show and broadcast this show, Midas Touch and the Bunker Crew, are asserting and defending
Yep.
these shows, saying, yes, what he said is true. We verified it. We had our legal team look at it. And I think that they did a very poor job. If that is true, then they did a very poor job. And here is a post. Here's a post that was made by someone else in response to Dr. Hassan asking, Dr. Hassan, how can you tell if it is true and not fiction? How do you, Dr. Hassan, how do you even know that this guy is really in a cult or was mind controlled? And Desiree Kane responds underneath one of the people that's working with this group of Midas Touch and Bunker Crew to make this American Psyop series of poocasts is none other than Miwok woman Desiree Kane. And she says in response, there are witnesses. Loads of them. Who corroborate. I am one of them. So there are many witnesses to the story. Loads. I don't know, a diaper load or a truckload? How many? What kind of load?
That's right.
Because of what I can tell right now, it stinks to high heaven. And I think they took it out of a Donnie's diaper.
Yep.
Because this is all a bunch of nonsense. And Desiree Kane would know because she is a nonsense maker. Here's something else she had to say. She's out in the Twitter sphere responding bravely to people who are attacking her because, see, Desiree Kane has been called out more than once for not being native, and she says in response to somebody probably calling her out on that front, go on saying I'm not native. You'll look really super smart when that plays out. I don't hide who I am or how I look, no matter how much people hate it. My tribal affiliations will always exist. You can't erase my reality just because it's not politically convenient. LOL. And was that the whole thing, or did she have any more on that?
Let's have a look. There's more.
Oh, there's more. Okay, well, we want to make sure to read all of them.
That's
okay,
right.
then the next one, she says, looking for the emoji that says, can't talk, I'm too busy, living rent-free in a lot of people's brains who I couldn't care less about, nor do I worry what they're doing with their lives, let alone put any energy into whatever weird web of lies they spin. LOL.
Wow.
So, already, she is making sure to put out in the Twitter sphere, into the social media discussion that, hey, everyone, people are attacking me for not being Indian. And see, the thing is, I don't know about her tribal affiliation.
Yeah.
I did a whole show. Actually, I did several shows on Desiree Kane.
Yeah.
One of them is called Transracial, in which I talk about a lot of people that went to Standing Rock who suddenly were the descendants and 1/4 Cherokee, and their great-great-grandma was a Cherokee princess, and they came to Standing Rock because they recently took on their heritage. It's like these politicians, like George Santos, who suddenly Jewish and blackish.
Yep.
And blah, blah, blah. Or that the Paulina Luna, who never actually cared about her Latino heritage until she was running as a Republican.
Yep.
These people, many of them have multiple identities, previously never identified with their indigenous identity. And I did numerous shows showing that Desiree Kane, whatever her background may be, does not present, and nor did she ever present as an indigenous woman until very recently. Until shortly before she went to Standing Rock, she started to take on this identity. And I'm going to show you a few examples of how prior to that period of time, she didn't.
Yep, exactly.
And that's appropriation. That is appropriation, especially when the person that you went out there with, who you were dating at the time, who you founded the Indian Problem, a nonprofit organization and media organization with, Remy, told me in a conversation that he had a problem with you appropriating Indian culture. And that even though you had recently discovered your Indian past, you never lived it, and you shouldn't be leading other people as a Miwok woman when you just became one recently.
Exactly.
Because it was looking bad and making people angry at you. Indians at the camp that you supposedly went to help were angry. But that didn't seem to stop you from taking a position of leadership at the camp. And I think there's a reason why Desiree Kane did what she did. Because she was on a payroll. Because she was hired like so many other people that Wes Clark hired to do PR for the people that were out there, including himself. To run public relations for all of the A and B list actors. And scriptwriters like Wes Clark, and rappers, and veterans, and people that needed to clean up their previous background history and come on the other side of Standing Rock with a whole brand spanking new image of themselves. Now as water protectors, not as ex-pedophiles. Now as water protectors, not as ex-serial rapists. You know? We found a lot of cases of that, where people who were water protectors out at Standing Rock and shamans and spiritual leaders and all sorts of heroes had a background history that was criminal in some way.
And went on to do more crime. And, years have passed. A lot of stuff has come out about these people that were the leadership of Standing Rock. Many of them were criminals when they were at Standing Rock and after.
Yes. And that goes for the people that Desiree Kane and Wes Clark were hanging out with at camp and venerating and, doing ceremonies with. Let me give you an example. Here is one of the posts of Desiree Kane's when she talks about what happened in 2016 during a apology ceremony that Leonard Crow Dog was at the head of as a spiritual leader to Ocheti Sakoan community members, flanked by Arval Looking Horse, Phyllis Young, Faith Spotted Eagle, Ivan Looking Horse, and the Eyes of Millions, accepting the apology of Wes Clark along with about 15 others. You see a room packed full of people on December 22nd of 2000. Was it? December 5th of I don't know what day it was.
2016.
Huh? 2016.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, in this picture, you see, in this text, you see, tweet, you see all the names of a bunch of different people Leonard Crow Dog, the first name that you see at the top there, well, I guess you can't see it anymore because you scroll down too far, but the top name there, Leonard Crow Dog, for those who don't know, do a Google search of Leonard Crow Dog and what he is associated with. You can do the same thing for all of these others here, but I just want to point out that Faith Spotted Eagle was the person that sent Mulaney Stoneman to the camp. Phyllis Young is the person in this American Psyop show that supposedly asked Wes Clark to come out to the camp. Except that in American Psyop in the story, he says that Phyllis asked him to come out because people were getting beaten up and had dogs thrown at them and they were being pepper sprayed and they needed leadership and they needed him to bring the vets and to come out.
Yep.
Right? But when he talked to me, he told me that the reason that Phyllis asked him to come out there was because Phyllis's husband had served in the Army under his dad, General Wes Clark. And that's the reason why he is omitting all of the different connections to him and his daddy, supporting him, being out at Standing Rock, and him and his daddy, General Clark, working in tandem on a variety of different projects, documentary films, speaking engagements, fundraising events, climate action events, all sorts of different conferences and things that he and his daddy. Oh, and remember that one time that he hosted a dinner at his house for Sedef and her daddy? The two executive director and communications director of the Turkish Forum.
Yep.
Racist, pro-Russian propaganda publication that appears in WikiLeaks.
Yep.
As part of Borat's box, because this publication was sent to the email box of the dictator of Turkey, Recep Erdogan's son-in-law.
Yep.
Yeah. And I did a whole show about all of the things that Sedef Buyaktaman and her daddy was up to. And the fact that Wes had set up a dinner meeting for them at Wes's house in Los Angeles. And that's when Wes decided he was too angry to continue to speak to me.
Yeah.
Now, I have not played that interview, but I will in the future. You definitely have to hear his reaction after me playing in my show all of the connections between him and the racist and pro-Russian propaganda, anti-indigenous people Turkish Forum, and why he would have a woman that propagates that kind of racist trash at Standing Rock at the head of a progressive movement for indigenous people, when the publication that she puts out as communication director trashes indigenous people and is racist toward indigenous people. He said he just didn't know. He didn't even know.
Yeah.
And he makes sure to try to clean up his image, because I think that's what this American Psyop poocast is really about. It's about trying to whitewash the history of what he did and said in the past, and what the other people that were with him at Standing Rock did and said in the past, like Desiree Kane. Now, let me show you the next thing that she wrote. This is in the thread, so let's go to this thread and show the whole thread of what Desiree Kane said about this day. She mentions all those people. You can feel free to look up Arvo Looking Horse and Ivan Looking Horse. I've done a lot of previous shows about them. You can feel free to scroll up whenever you want to, so we can get through this thread. And we'll see more of her posts when we get to the bottom here. She continues to talk about Wes Clark Jr. and 4,000 mostly non-native veterans arriving in support of, oops, I couldn't read the rest of that. Went a little too fast for me. Nonviolent opposition to the pipeline, a message you can hear echoed in Dave Archamble's message above. And then we have when these many veterans arrived, many were ill prepared for a blizzard that, this is Desiree's thread.
There we go.
December 5th. Everyone that plummeted temperatures to negative 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Everyone fled to the casinos. It became a refuge. The tribe financed to their detriment. The message was always nonviolent. And then it has the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock agenda.
Oh, yeah.
There's an agenda in there. And I'll show you what that looks like a little bit better in a minute here. But then there is another post of hers in which she says, I hadn't left the cargo tribal land once in like 5 months. When Wes got a call from the White House, Obama blocked construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. What happens after this moment can only be described as some sort of, what's it? Piranha Fest, aimed at hurting any and all peaceful entities. And you see a picture of Wes on December 5th receiving a phone call.
I see.
What happened was wrong, and there will be decades of fallout from it. So much has happened in ways that the American public is not emotionally ready to face, in my humble opinion. But here we are anyway. May the odds be ever in the favor of good faith actors, the common people. If you want to know more about this, I encourage you to listen with open ears to American Psyop, the podcast wherein much of this is already told. If you can make heads or tails of what they put in this American Psyop series, you should call the Midas Touch, because they need an interpreter. They need a translator. There's a lot of people that have been watching this that cannot make heads or tails of what y'all were trying to do. Now here is that agenda that was posted in amongst the documentation. And you can see here that it tells you they are maintaining a peaceful and prayerful environment as directed by the elders. Anyone doing actions other than peaceful, prayerful, direct actions are not affiliated with Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, and one acting on their own, not operating under the... This is a disclaimer.
Yeah,
do you get that?
Yeah, I see that.
Because they went to do a lot of violent, fraudulent, criminal, and horrible things. And they went on after camp, after Standing Rock, to do more defrauding and more harmful sexual harassment, fraud, rapes, all sorts of things. And here you see that they have the veterans registration briefing for vets. Then on December 4th, they have veterans registration, a shuttle to Cannonball Field, and then dinner. And then on December 5th, it says they have shuttles from camp, a ceremony of Ocheti Sakoan, shuttle to Ocheti, and then dinner. And then Thursday, December 6th, it says they shuttle from the veterans camps, shuttle to Ocheti Sakoan, and then dinner. And then December 7th, shuttle from veterans camps to do service projects, and then shuttle back to Ocheti Sakoan and dinner. Of course, we know
blizzard.
There was a blizzard, and the rest of that did not happen. And all of a sudden, the shuttles that were planned, the registration and all of that got thrown out the window. Nothing was done according to this agenda.
Exactly.
The only thing that is, I guess, in any way useful about that agenda is that it mainly serves as a disclaimer that all of the nonsense, all of the cluster of nonsense that is going to be popping off in this camp, including what happened to Kathleen Bennett and her mom, where a bunch of the people associated with Wes Clark, working with Wes Clark, either through Nexus or through the PR team that he brought that manages the Hollywood actors and Wes himself. They were going to do a lot of harm, and they did not want it to get back to them.
Yep.
They didn't want it to be connected to them. So they made sure to put out a disclaimer so you knew if somebody does something that wasn't peaceful, like falsify police reports and send an innocent Lakota woman to jail, that didn't have nothing with us. That had nothing to do with us.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
If you find out later on that L'Oreal Blackshaw, who rented a car under the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, drove her rental vehicle into a boat on land, which then had to be reimbursed to the rental car company by Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, then you should know that didn't actually have anything to do with them. Because they don't have anything to do with any bad actors.
That's right.
Right? Here you have American Psyop posting the moment we've been waiting for. The finale of American Psyop is here. I couldn't be prouder of this episode. Thank you so much to Mr. Social, Desiree Kane, and Miss Bix, Emily Bix, and Wes Clark Jr. for killing it on the mic. What else? And someone says, okay, so when Desiree mentions the using people as guinea pigs at Standing Rock for what sounds like direct energy weapons, Mr. Social, did other people or you experience tinnitus or any other symptoms commonly discussed as Havana syndrome? Duke, you know that there's absolutely no evidence to show that the Havana syndrome is a real thing. Okay,
Exactly.
anyway.
Exactly.
Wes Clark responds, I experienced it at home. I don't recall having it there. And then someone else responds. Who was that? It was Desiree Kane. And Desiree Kane says, I did not experience any set of abnormal symptoms outside of CPTSD from this experience at Standing Rock nor at home. I don't believe in Havana syndrome nor DEW at this time. But it doesn't mean to diminish others' experiences if they do.
Oh, wow.
And my beliefs could change.
Yeah.
So I am just a leaf blowing in the wind. I just stick my finger up and see which way is the wind blowing today.
Yep.
Do people believe in Havana syndrome? Do people believe in cold fusion like the people that were out in Puerto Rico that I was working with before? Maybe I'll change my mind about that. Even though it's a bunch of pseudoscience mumbo jumbo, doesn't matter. Wes Clark then responds, I believe that Havana syndrome is caused by DEW, but I don't think such weapons were used on me despite what the people around me at the time were telling me. And then Desiree responds, I was told the same thing at the same time and place. Loosely, they point a microwave device. That's why your phone can't hold a charge. And I recall thinking, it's negative 55 degrees. That's what batteries do in deep cold. Also, stingrays do this. Do this too. And then kept it moving.
Yep.
So, here they are talking about stingrays at camp. And then Itchy says, the DEWs are definitely real, but the worst damage is done by actors. In my case, state actors deciding without any evidence to support their claims to proceed to destroy you, both mentally and your life, by running out miles of accusations and then using their power and their credentials. And
That's it on that one.
I believe that their Desiree Kane and Wes's claims about Havana syndrome or other possible syndromes that they experienced from being out at the camp is something that they can neither deny nor confirm because they want to leave it open-ended in case they need to jump on a bandwagon, because that's what
Yeah,
they did when
exactly.
they were out at Standing Rock. Remember that they said that they had poisoned the buffalo?
That's right.
And that there was poison out there that was used to poison the people,
Mm-hmm.
and that they put poison in the water that they shot out of the cannons on November 20th.
Yep.
And that people were having side effects of different kinds of poisonings because they were poisoned
Yeah, the
by
planes-
some kinds of like waves or something out there at Standing Rock. What evidence did anybody provide of any of that stuff?
Exactly.
Zero. Zero. Nobody provided any evidence of any of that. So notice how when it comes to real truth, these people are on the fence about being truthful. They will play into misinformation if it keeps people on their side.
Yep.
Okay? And the next image that we have here, you will see
Actually, a video.
a video in which Dr. Hassan, the man that we started this show off with, is going to be interviewing Desiree Kane. And in this excerpt from their video called Indigenous People, Desiree Kane talks about genocide and healing the wounds. I'm going to share with you that Wes Clark, according to this interview with Dr. Hassan, according to this interview, Desiree Kane was also caught up in the cult. She was also brainwashed and mind controlled. Bet you didn't know that from listening to the Wes Clark American Psyop. There was other people. How many other people? We don't know. The Midas Touch production doesn't tell us. The Bunker Crew never asked Wes Clark. How many other people? What happened? Well, actually, there was a little piece. A little piece in the show I believe Desiree appears in, which is called Revelations, in which she says she was bear hugged. I think this is code for her talking about people being sucked into the cult.
Okay.
There were bear hugging a lot of people into the cult. I am cult. And that was where it started for her. And she mentions that she did not leave the cult. She did not wake up from the cult until she was in Portugal. And in this interview you're about to see with Dr. Hassan, she repeats those claims that she made in the show I am doing a review about right now, American Psyop. Take a listen to this excerpt in which she talks about being in a cult.
Yeah, I think I could wrap up by saying two things. Your advice to continually remind someone when they are getting lost into something that you don't know where they're going, to just remind them of who they were before Trump, is perhaps the most salient and applicable and effective advice I've seen, because it helps people access their previous self. I fell down a cult rabbit hole. My authentic self is what kept me from staying on the cult compound in Portugal and being lost, truly lost. So reminding people of that root of who they are, that they like poetry and painting and growing plants, that's how you get your friends back. So I really encourage people. It sounds a little bit like Steve, self-promotional, whatever. It's good advice.
I criticize people who complain about true believers in QAnon, the cult of Trump. I criticize them and I say, so you have family or friends who are believers? Oh yeah. Do you talk with them regularly? No, I cut them off. I criticize them. Why would you cut them off? That will send them deeper into the indoctrination rabbit hole. Be respectful, be loving. Love is stronger than mind control. I always say that. And find common ground. And as you correctly said, if you can go get them back in time before they ever heard of Trump or QAnon, to what did they think and what did they value?
Okay. I'm not going to go down the tangent of discussing right at this juncture whether or not Dr. Hassan's advice about people that are Q nuts or Trump MAGAs, or they're, completely, they've been sucked into what Dr. Hassan calls the MAGA cult, the Trump cult, right? The QAnon cult. He believes that, and so does Desiree Kane, and so does Wes Clark, and so does this American Psyop, seem to also purport that those folks, that the people, right, that began to follow the MAGA movement and believed in the big lie, and then believed in the vaccine lies, and believed in QAnon, are all people that were brainwashed, and that were all people that we got to save, because Dr. Hassan and this group of people that he's been doing these interviews and writing these books, they're going to save the Trumpists. They're going to save the people that got into the cults. We'll talk about the track record of this crew of MAGA saviors, Q-nut saviors, and what methods they're using, and whether or not Dr. Hassan's methods are scientific, reproducible, that they actually exist, and that they actually work. We'll talk about that some other time. But I do want to get across the fact that the goal, one of the goals, both of, I believe, in my opinion, this American Psyop poocast series, and all the subsequent interviews and YouTube videos and workshops and conferences and TEDx talks that these people have done, what their purpose is, amongst other things, besides deflecting Russian interference and particular foreign influence campaigns, besides trying to deflect from those and focus only on mind control and cults, I think it also is very much toward advising people that whatever their approach has been, if you have, over the pandemic or through the Trump administration going into the pandemic, distanced yourself from MAGA followers or QAnon cultists, I am sure that you have done this, like many people have throughout this country and throughout the world, for their own mental sanity, for their own physical safety. Because remember, the same people that believe in MAGA, believe in Trump, and believe in the big lie also are anti-vaxxers. Who were getting people to use ivermectin and hydrochloroquine instead of properly masking and protecting themselves from the virus. In fact, we will be talking about people that are associated with this group, this crew of people, of Desiree Kane, of now Dr. Hassan and some others that they're working with to save the MAGA cultists, right? The Trump cultists. We're going to see that this crew of people have been hanging out and have been working with all of the people that were involved in harmful, racist, fraudulent behavior at Standing Rock and beyond. And even according to Wes Clark and Desiree Kay themselves, they were surrounded by I am cultists at the camp. Mercenaries, cultists, and people that are LARPing. People that are pretending to be something that they are not. People that are pretending to be an identity that they are not. Okay? So, who is it that these... Where is it that Desiree left the cult. She said she left in Portugal. Here are some posts from the time that Standing Rock folks went to Portugal. It was a specific group of people. And here is a post from the Sacred Stone Camp where they talk about the trip to Portugal. And next you see Desiree Kane talking about the trip to Portugal. She says, here's the no fracking video from the group action on the beach here in Portugal yesterday. Remember they did that aerial
That's right,
picture and it's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
dolphin. You can see it from the sky. They did a bunch of these. They did some of this aerial drone footage at the camp.
Yep,
And then they also
exactly.
did it in Portugal. And then Desiree posts here that she is there to raise and defend the sacred.
Yeah.
This is another post from Portugal. Or where does it say in particular that this picture is from? She posted it from Costa da Caparica, Portugal. Okay, so she's in Portugal
Yeah.
when she posts this. You can see right there. So this is from that time that she went to Portugal. She's in a cult
Yeah.
this whole time. I'm looking at these pictures with a different lens now, through a different lens, because I'm being told she was in a cult.
Yep.
And here she was with other cult leaders or members. I don't know.
Yep.
Because these are all from the same time period that she
Yep.
was there, and they were with her, and they were together in Portugal at Parada Full. Stop the drilling. And they're at the Biotrope. Tamara's Healing Biotrope.
Huh.
So is this where the cult was? I don't know. But she was in a cult. Supposedly she was in a cult at the camp. She was in a cult all the way up until she went to Portugal. She still kept on hanging out with the people that were in the
Yep.
cult after this.
Exactly. Yeah.
But doesn't seem to explain why she decided to keep hanging out with the cult people after she left the cult. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. But who am I?
Yeah.
Here she is talking about what she's doing in Portugal. She doesn't describe it as a cult. She describes it as a sabbatical.
That's right.
She says,
Taking a break.
I'm on sabbatical, kinda. Do you think that the kinda in parentheticals is like, well, kinda, because I'm actually in a cult?
Yeah.
I don't know. She says, I'm on sabbatical, and the best news I have is that I was given a friendship bracelet today on the beach. It's rad. Winning. Hashtag winning. Oh, and we made the Portugal national news. And Allison Rensville says, no big deal. And Tristan Hartwell says, we are. And Desiree says, Tamara. And Tristan Hartwell says, where is that? And Desiree responds, Tamara Peace Research and Education Center in Portugal. That's where she says she was in a cult.
Yes.
She left the compound. She was deeply, deeply in the cult. We just heard her talk about this. She doesn't seem very pressed.
Yeah.
She's like Facebooking.
Yep.
I'm on sabbatical.
That's right.
You would think that
Kinda.
if she was like deep in the cult and having her mind wiped in all of this, it would look different. I don't know. Maybe you're just super upbeat and happy when you're in a cult.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, here is another clip in which this is from the same video I just shared an excerpt from where she's talking about the cult. But this is another excerpt in which she is talking about her identity as a white passing Indian. At the very least, she recognizes that she does not look indigenous.
Yeah.
She does not present as indigenous. And that in and of itself carries an important responsibility to not do harm through your representation of indigenousness and you taking a leadership role in speaking on behalf of indigenous people and for indigenous people, as she has been doing since she was in the cult and before when she was in the cult and after she was in the cult.
Exactly.
And continuing to this very day. listen from her own mouth what she thinks about her role as a white passing woman.
But I personally believe this period in time, I'm a white passing Miwok person. I'm both colonizer and colonized. And the reality of people just going back to Europe or segregating even further isn't actually, like, where would I fall in that? And where would most biracial indigenous people fall in that? We wouldn't have nowhere to go. So this just send people away, it isn't, that's a very violent form of like a culture of disposability. And Native people know all about a culture of disposability, which we can actually impart outwards to not practice, right? Like, how about we don't just consume and throw people away? So we must find ways to live together, because there's not going to be a time where we're not all human beings. And Mother Earth, you know, the weather is indiscriminate, right? So Native people, again, canaries in a coal mine, were very in tune with this land. We have practices millennia old to like how to survive this land with these climates. So having that bridge with other humans on this land is actually the caring, like loving approach, like working to survive, right?
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to help you to survive? If you're an indigenous person, I definitely would not hold my breath for Desiree Kane.
Yeah.
Or Desiree Mann. Or whatever her name is, because she goes by a lot of different names, this girl. Like so many of the people we met at Standing Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when she says, I am both colonizer and I am oppressor and oppressed, how much of one are you? How much of the oppressed are you? Because it's not 50-50.
Yeah.
It's not 50-50. It seems to me like you are heavily invested in your oppressor role, in your appropriator role, in your centering yourself as a white presenting woman who never took up her indigeneity before she started dancing around Standing Rock.
Exactly.
Hanging out with indigenous men and sleeping with as many indigenous men as she could to be accepted as a Miwok Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the kind of harmful things that a white passing woman like Desiree Kane did and does. She shares the posts of harmful media creators who were credibly accused of raping one of their colleagues, Carly Hammond.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the post of Desiree Kane talking about how it's critical that we protect the movement and media folks like Karen Savage. And of course, if you roll down, she's basically just regurgitating Jordan Cheriton's post.
I see.
There's Jordan Cheriton's post, and they're talking about defending these women in media. What about Carly Hammond, the woman that Jordan raped, allegedly, along with the cameraman, Ty Bayless, and Chelsea Lyons Kent,
Yep.
a Bernie Sanders delegate?
Exactly.
Can you explain to me how that is helpful to the survival of indigenous people? For you to promote amongst them sexual predators credibly accused of raping a young woman. One that Julian Assange also tweeted out and defended. Of course, Julian Assange also has been accused of sexual misconduct.
That's right.
And many of the people that are represented by the same PR firm as Julian Assange, such as Jordan Sheridan, are also all accused of being racist, rapists, anti-Semites. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Is this a coinkydink? I don't know. Let's see. Here's a post by one of the publicists for Julian Assange and Jordan Sheridan that worked alongside the People for Bernie's Winnie Wong. Winnie Wong, the People for Bernie coordinator, Winnie Wong, worked alongside Ann Zalkowski. They worked together on PR stuff. And Ann Zalkowski, as you can see here, is the person that put out this press release about Jordan Sheridan and how he planned to sue the Young Turks and the Intercept and all of the people that made any false allegations about him raping Carly Hammond. There's Ann Zalkowski from Vox Veritas. Wow. The same group that represents Julian Assange. The same group that represents Jordan Sheridan and that represented Trevor Fitzgibbons and that represented Chelsea Manning.
Really?
Yeah. All those people represented by the same PR people. Isn't that interesting? And it just so happens that those PR people work with Desiree Kane.
Wow.
And Winnie Wong. Huh? Wow. Must be a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Because indigenous Miwok women that are white presenting, they wouldn't be bringing predators, sexual predators, into a community of indigenous women who frequently go missing and get murdered just for being in brown skin. Right?
Right.
Because that would be more damage than good. That would bring more harm to the community than good. But of course, maybe we cannot fault her for all the harm she and Wes caused when they were at Standing Rock, because she was cuckoo in the brain then, right?
That's right.
Well, she was in the cult too. So why are we still listening to her today? What does she have to offer to us today? What kind of deprogramming did she go through? How do we know that it was even successful? I have a lot of questions. But I want to show you something else. Let's go to the Activate Now. Oh, by the way, folks, I suggest if you haven't already seen it, go watch my show, Publicists for Predators. I have all of the details and receipts on Ann Zalkowski and Trevor Fitzgibbon and Jordan Sheridan and Julian Assange and all of the other people that they represent, because they are publicists. Ann Zalkowski and Vox Veritas and their media operation, whatever it's called today, because it keeps changing names. They are publicists for predators. And they're friends with Desiree Kane. And they're friends with Wes Clark. The publicists for the predators? Wouldn't that be harmful for indigenous communities?
You would think so.
You would think so. But they probably know better. Anyway, Desiree, as you can see here in this post, that's the second half of the post about Jordan Sheridan and Carly Hammond. But you can see there they're talking about Tim Black and Vox Media legal team, blah 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 blah. So this is Ann Zalkowski putting out a press release threatening to sue the Young Turks. This was before they fired him at the Young Turks, and a whole bunch of other media people who I'm sure they never actually sued anybody.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's the next. That's the same one.
Oh, down here.
Yes. Now we are at the post of Elsa Johnson. Who's Elsa Johnson, you might ask? Well, you can see right there that she says that her son Remy and Wes Clark. What? Wait a minute. Let's take a look at that whole sentence. There's a whole bunch of people in that sentence. She says, healing thoughts today and every day to all water protectors who withstood the vicious attacks by mercenaries, law enforcement, and Tiger Swan for months at Standing Rock, and every person who stands for protection of Mother Earth. Water is life, water is medicine. And then she tags Wiaka Eagleman. This is after the camps are closed.
Yeah.
In June of 2017, when they're already heavily into the Flint Flop House,
Exactly.
the next campground,
Mm-hmm.
which Wes said, announced at camp that he would be going to with the vets after Standing Rock.
That's right.
Wiaka Eagleman, another one of Desiree Kane's conquests. And then there's Desiree Kane, and then there's Kelly Hayes. Now, Kelly Hayes, Desiree Kane, and Remy, all three of them started the media group, The Indian Problem. Okay? All three of them. This is a media group. They do PR, they do stories, they do media. Desiree Kane writes for a lot of different publications and runs a lot of different pages and posted for a lot of different pages while she was at camp. She was doing PR work for Wes, along with some other PR people that Wes also said he helped bring to camp, like Seven McDonald, which he said he raised $25,000 for so she could come out to the camp and work for him on PR.
Wow.
So Wes Clark is tagged here along with Desiree Kane and Remy Frendenberger, which is his real name, Jeremy Frendenberger,
Okay.
or Frendenberg. Doesn't sound very indigenous. That's probably why they changed his name to Remy. He's the one that told me on the phone that she was appropriating Native culture and that he told her not to do that.
Yep.
If you scroll down, you will see that after she posted this, Remy's mom, there was a post about Nako. It was a post that she put this and tagged all them on, of Nako and Medicine for the People, a musical band associated with Standing Rock, that went on to share many, many stories of women being sexually assaulted and raped by Nako Bear and the Medicine for the People band. I've done another show on that. So keep scrolling till we get to the bottom and look at the comments. Those people are also horrible that this woman and Desiree and Wes are all tagged with. And here's the comments. There's one from Desiree. She says to her boyfriend, Elsa Johnson's mom. Elsa Johnson's her boyfriend's mom.
Okay.
Remy's mom. She was dating Remy when she went to the camp, and she said, "Love you and miss you." And then Wes Clark says, "Beautiful." And Wiaka says, "Maniwachoni." And
course.
Kelly Hayes says, "Heart
Yeah.
emoji." So they're all on board.
Yep.
You should see this the post that Wiaka Eagleman made after Desiree went through Remy and then him and then moved on to somebody else.
Yeah.
He was calling her some other names.
I see.
But Remy chucked her to the side too. When I was talking to him, I was like, do you know that by having her on your Indian Problem page, you are credentializing her as being an Indian? You are giving her credibility, plus, not to mention, the fact that she is associated with the Indian Problem and with you. And all of the things that she's done will forevermore now be emblazoned on the Indian Problem because she ran the page, because she founded the organization with you. And whether she's appropriating Indian culture because you told me so yourself. So why are you allowing this to happen? He let me know and sent me this screen capture. She's no longer with the Indian Problem.
Wow.
Desiree Kane is no longer a collective member of the Indian Problem. This is in 2018, April 7. You can see right there the date. So they kicked her to the curb.
Yeah.
And Wiaka and other people did not like her so much after they got to meet her at the camp. Here's what one person called her: an ugly white beep. This is the Indian Problem's Facebook page. And you can see at the top it says these are posts under a post from the Indian Problem. And someone talking about Desiree Kane says the Indian Problem, she did not do this. She kicked the guy off of her program that did this. Don't start rumors you don't know about. I live 5 miles from where these horses died. Someone is talking about the post. I don't know what the post is.
Yeah.
But I do know is that Lorna, which is next here, had some choice words about Desiree. This is another evil, ugly, white beep running under a native organization. She lies about being raped. And this and that. The whole world is laughing at you, loser Kane. Oh,
Yeah.
doesn't call her Desiree Kane. Calls her loser Kane. The whole world is laughing at loser Kane.
Yes. On that, I do have to do a
Station identification.
quick station identification.
Oh my God, I got so carried away. I forgot
For
to.
our radio listeners out there, you're listening to KPPP LP 88.1 Fargo Moorhead, adding local color to your airwaves. And this is a Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
Who am I?
Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
Cindy
Cindy Gomez-Schempp and Duke Gomez-Schempp. Welcome to the show.
And you are listening to my rebuttal to a poocast series by Midas Touch and the Bunker Crew about Wesley Clark Jr. called American Psyop. And my response is it's called Psyop BS because their stories cannot be believed, neither Wes nor Desiree. And so for this group of people that published these lies and their defamatory statements, even going so far as to use copyright material from our show with illegally and without our permission.
Yep.
This is my response to their lies and to their slander. This is the beginning of my response,
That's right.
should I say, because there will be much, much more. Now, again, I don't know Desiree Kane's business. I don't know if her great-great-great-great-great-grandpa is Miwok or had tribal affiliation or has a tribal card or what have you. All I know is that the people that were dating her, all I know is that the history that precedes Standing Rock doesn't show her identifying as an indigenous person. And she sure don't look like one, as she herself has acknowledged.
Yep.
And neither do her parents.
Yep.
Here's her daddy. This is what he looks like. Whitey McWhiterson. I mean, I don't know of anybody. What does he looks like?
Joe Schmo.
He looks like John Eastman,
Yeah, exactly.
Trump's lawyer.
He does. Yeah, that's a good. He does.
It looks like I don't know.
Yeah. Elmer
Who's
Fudd.
that? Who's that? That guy that used to do the weather on Good Morning America, the fat guy that was bald on the top.
Oh.
The weather guy.
I forget his name.
Yeah, well, he
Weather
looks
guy.
like that too. Here's her mom, April. Again, looks like she has green eyes. Daddy has blue eyes. Desiree has blue eyes too.
Yeah.
It looks like, anyway. Everybody in the fam. The whole family
Yep.
looks pretty white to me.
Yep.
And here's a poem that Desiree wrote when she was in high school, when she didn't call herself Desiree Kane, but Desiree Mann, which is what her legal name was registered as.
And it's an autobio poem.
Yes, she's talking about her autobiography. By the way,
Okay.
if you go and watch that video on YouTube, that you just saw clips from, she starts off by speaking in an indigenous language.
Oh, really?
And introducing herself, something she didn't even do when she was at Standing Rock.
Wow.
Okay, so she's progressed to the point where she has totally catfished this indigenous identity onto herself, and now like speaks in this very like noble I am Indian slow speak thing that she's trying to do. Didn't speak like that before. Look up her videos. Just type in Desiree Kane on YouTube, and you'll find stuff from 12, 15 years ago where she talks like a normal white girl. But here's her poem in which she does not identify anything about herself being indigenous. And it's an autobiography poem.
I see.
It's an autobiographical poem. It tells you where she was a native of. It tells you what she likes to do and what's important to her. She starts out every day now when you talk to her talking about representing herself as an indigenous woman, speaking in an indigenous language to introduce herself. Even if all she knows how to say is, I am a Miwok woman, my name is Desiree Kane, in that indigenous language, she does it every time she talks. Did she talk about being indigenous in this poem, Duke?
Nope, she says, autobio poem. Desiree, loving, caring, and creative. Daughter of Larry and April, who loves her cat, people, flowers, who feels excited, beautiful, loved, who needs lots of love, attention, encouragement, who gives her support, ideas, her everything, who fears ignorance, illness, God, who would like to see Switzerland, Ireland, India, native of Las Vegas, Nevada, man, Desiree, man.
Well, I don't know if she made it to Switzerland, Ireland.
She made it to Portugal.
I'm pretty sure she made it to India too. And I know she went to Qatar. And in fact, I remember that she had that she frequently boasted about the fact that she has traveled to 20 some countries.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh yeah. Because she's got money to travel like that. Because she comes from a family where her daddy worked for NASA.
I see.
Her daddy worked for NASA. I know there's a lot of things that we can go on a rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole with just the NASA reference, right? Because I hear people say that NASA doesn't stand, and NASA actually stands for not a space agency.
Oh, yeah.
Not joking. But anyway, here is a post from Standing Rock Days. Who posted this? Who posted this all at the top? I want to see who made this post. Oh, it doesn't say. Anyway,
It doesn't.
in this post, you can see there's a bunch of, looks like animal skins over there. They're actually coats, okay?
Yep.
And this was a post about taking fur coats or winter coats to the camp.
Oh.
And the person that is going out to the camp that is talking here is Seven McDonald, the daughter of the singer, the lead singer of Country Joe and the Fish.
Yep.
The one that talks about Vietnam,
That's right.
right? What's that song go like?
Oh, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. The next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, we ain't got time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die.
Right. Okay.
Country Joe.
Right. Seven McDonald, who does PR for lots of people in Hollywood, lots of, B-list actors in Hollywood, she is one of the people in this thread that is taking the coats to Standing Rock. And a bunch of people jump on this post. Winnie Wong
Oh, Winnie Wong.
is there. And what does she say, Duke? She says, love you.
Love you and Desiree Kane.
She tags Desiree Kane and she says, love you and
Fun
Desiree
crew.
Kane and Wes
Yep.
Clark
Yep.
Jr.
Yep.
That's a fun crew.
Yeah.
Because guess what, folks? They are a crew that are working together. And Seven McDonald responds to Winnie Wong, tagging her in the response and saying, do you want me to send you the press release, because that's what people in PR do. They create press releases like the one from Ann Zalkowski I just showed you. They work for PR people. That's what they do. And of course, Winnie Wong works with these PR people. She says, do you want me to send you the press release for something on Sunday? Or actually, the amazing Desiree can share it. Because Desiree Kane is doing the PR, working with 7 McDonald's, so she can send that to you. And Winnie Wong responds, tagging Desiree again, and says, Desiree Kane is our organizer. Our, meaning mine, Winnie Wong.
Yep.
Working for the people for Bernie Sanders. She works for me. She works with Desiree Kane, and she works with 7 McDonald. That's what Winnie Wong is saying here. And she also adds, she is on that, meaning the press release. We are also obviously working with Tulsi Gabbard. And you will see that Desiree Kane, in her posts about American Psyop on Twitter, talks about Tulsi Gabbard and the possibility that Tulsi might be running as VP for the 2024 race with Trump. And on a Twitter thread with Fortaggio Blow, the rapper, Duke, she's talking about, I was at Standing Rock and I did the PR for Tulsi Gabbard. Here's proof positive that Winnie Wong, Desiree Kane, 7 McDonald's, and Tulsi Gabbard, who now frequently shows the Tucker Carlson show, are all working together. They were always working together. And 7 McDonald says she is working with me. Desiree Kane is working with 7 McDonald. Desiree Kane is working with Winnie Wong and Tulsi Gabbard. Thankfully, we already shared the love about you, meaning Winnie Wong. And Winnie says, thanks, 7 McDonald, dude. We're a lot of clothes. It's very cold out there.
Yeah, and their fur coats.
Okay? So I showed you now. You see, right? You have seen for yourselves how all of these people work together to do PR. Frequently for predators. I don't know. And they didn't just do it at Standing Rock.
Yeah.
They did it elsewhere. They continued doing it. They traveled all over the country together. Here is just one of the many shows. And in the show I did, Publicists for Predators, and others you can find, like the one I did about transracial, and others that I did about Desiree Kane specifically and all of her connections. I showed a whole bunch of stuff that with her and Winnie Wong and Cassandra Fairbanks. Because they all hang out together because they were all delegates, along with Chelsea Lyons Kent, the other woman that Jordan Sheridan allegedly raped Carly Hammond with.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of Winnie Wong and Desiree Kane organizing at the People's Summit. See? So these people obviously work together ongoing, and they worked with Wes. They were part of Wes's crew, okay? Did you see his name in there? That's a fun crew.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so next go to the next one. I want to show you who else they were working with at the camp. Desiree Kane is tagged in this post about the Russian military activity in Alaska in a post by Russian correspondent for Russian television news, aka a Russian agent or Russian spy, Samira Khan, posted, Putin invades Alaska, and then tagged Desiree Kane. Right there at the end, you see her name? Desiree Kane. There's her name. That's not the only place that Desiree Kane was hanging out with this crew. And she wasn't the only one that was connected to Samira Khan. Let me show you. Here's another picture. This next picture is going to give you a better idea of who she was hanging with. There is Miss New Jersey, Samira Khan, hanging out with Wes Clark Jr. at Standing Rock in the hotel casino. In the hotel. Okay, they're not at camp. They're hanging out in the hallway in the hotel. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. And next I have some more for you. This is a still of a video I'm about to play in which, well, I'm going to play you several videos, but I'm going to show you that Samira was hanging out with a couple of people here. If you blow it up there, you'll see who the people she tags in this still of a video. She says, dinner in Standing Rock with the crew. Crew? Who's in that crew? Remember, Wes is in that crew. We know Wes is in the crew, right? We saw Winnie Wong tell us that's a fun crew. Desiree Kane is in the crew. Seven McDonald is in the crew. Who else is in the crew? Josh Fox and Jordan Sheridan. And, oh, who's that? Frances Fisher. The actress Frances Fisher?
Yep.
Clint Eastwood's baby mama? Frances Fisher? Yep, that's the one. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here's a video of Samira Khan hanging out with Frances Fisher. See if you recognize her. This is the actress with the Russian correspondent for Russian television news, Samira Khan.
Oh, where are my sunglasses? It's about to go dark. I dropped. So, if you look back there, the police are up there, and they tried to shoot down our drone earlier, and by the fire. It's not very interesting. Nothing right now is going on.
Lots going on, kid. We're all standing in prayer.
Well, yeah, we were standing in prayer, but before they
That
were
was
actually
Frances
holding
Fisher's
hands
voice.
around the entire lake,
You'll see
the
her right
island
there.
area, and
Yeah.
that was I missed that, unfortunately.
In the white baseball cap,
About
the
450.
orange and yellow bandana. There it is. There's the still frame. You see Frances Fisher.
Yep.
And she interjects to tell Samira Khan, yes, there is a lot going on.
We're in prayer.
We're standing in prayer. Here's Samira Khan driving around with Jordan Sheridan, part of the crew. I want to show you, it wasn't just one thing where they were having dinner, that they were all together, or where Wes is in the hallway with Samira, or, Jordan Sheridan and Josh Fox happened to be over here. No, they were all together. And Maggie Day, the other PR person that was constantly calling me on the phone, working with Wes, working with Seven McDonald, told me they were all hanging out together. Same hotel room even. Here they are in the car during a blizzard. This is after the blizzard hit.
So, it is the morning after the snowstorm, and it's gonna snow today. Onwards until Wednesday.
No snowstorm here.
So Sweden says this isn't a snowstorm, this is a regular day in Sweden. And this is just nothing, but I'm from New Jersey. This is a snowstorm. We've gotten worse, right, Jordan?
Correct.
We've gotten much worse, and just because we're not Swedish doesn't mean this isn't a valid snowstorm. But we're on our way to camp, and this was a terrible live video, but I don't really have anything to say because I'm pretty tired. But peace. All right, say bye, Sweden and Long Island.
Hey, då. Bye, 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 bye.
Yeah, okay.
Recall that Russian television news were the same people that the day after November 20th, where they sprayed water cannons on people, immediately went and interviewed Christina Hollenbach.
That's right.
The woman that put false charges on Kathleen Bennett.
Yep.
Russian television news has always been the first on the ground to get that message out there. The message of Wes Clark and his crew.
Yep.
With Samira Khan. Here's Samira Khan at the Prairie Nights Casino restaurant. Who's she hanging out with, Duke?
We shall find out.
Let's take a look.
And the live stream begins. This will be a very boring live stream
is the one
because
she's
we're
with.
just sitting
Frances
and eating
Fisher,
dinner. Nobody else knows
Jordan
that I'm
Sheridan.
live streaming.
And Josh Fox, documentary filmmaker.
Josh, live stream. Say hi. Love Josh. Love you, Josh. Oh, look. Josh flavored wine.
Just behind Josh in this video is the head of Frances
flavored
Fisher.
wine.
You can see her red hair.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Next to
it's
her is
actually
Jordan
in his
Sheridan.
vase.
They're right
Yeah.
behind Josh
Okay.
Fox.
I see.
If you
Jordan.
there's
All right,
there's Jordan
so
Sheridan.
I have
think
to
it's-
go
at
now.
The other table is probably
Because people
Frances
are calling
Fisher
me.
and
Oh
Wes
my
Clark.
God, I had 10 whole viewers.
Anyway, you can see Frances Fisher's head over there behind him. And if you want to go back and watch it on your own time, feel free to do so. I just wanted to prove to you,
Yeah.
there's the crew.
Yeah, the crew.
They're all hanging out together, creating media, creating narratives. And those are the people that work with Desiree Kane and Wes Clark and
Yeah.
always have done. And this is when they were all in the cult. You suppose Samira Khan is in a cult? And Frances Fisher, is she in the cult too? Inquiring minds want to know. Or is it just you? Is it just you and Wes that were in the cult and nobody else got sucked into the I Am cult? Or was everyone else in the cult as well? Was everybody in the cult? Am I in the cult? Are you in the cult?
Oh, I think you're being accused of making the cult.
You know what I know Samira Khan is involved in who she's involved with? The Russians, because she works for Russian television news. She's the top Russian journalist, Samira Khan. That's what it says right here. From the Russian television network itself.
RT network.
There
Yep.
she is. So, folks, I don't know for sure. I didn't take a DNA test of Desiree Kane or Desiree Mann or whatever her name is to tell you whether or not what she's saying is true or what she herself acknowledges is her responsibility as a white passing woman that is both equally, at least, oppressor to her indigeneity. But what I do know is that she hangs out with people that are publicists for predators. And apparently she also is a publicist. And she was also publishing support for lots of different people she worked with who were felons, criminals, predators, and according to her and Wes, part of the I Am cult. I don't know. Sounds like maybe that could be a recipe for a freaking disaster. Anyway, we'll be going down another rabbit hole.
Yeah, rat hole.
Rat hole, probably, because that's what this sewer of people is filled with. We'll be going down another rabbit hole here on a Mexican Crossing Lines on my next show. I will show you more of the connections between the people in episodes 1 and 2 and Wes and his crew.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Please share this show with everyone. You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Have a great evening, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Say goodnight, Duke.
Good night, Duke.